Welcome, guys, back to the I Love Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Woolwine. Today, we are welcome with the CSW Metra Division champion, Mr. Hans Carden. How we doing, man?
Doing lovely. Even better now that you just reminded me of that. Not that I forgot, but it's nice to have a reminder every so often of something quite as exciting as that.
And just to dive right in, while we're talking about the Metro Division Championship, it came out of nowhere. I mean, not that anybody was doubting you, but I mean, word was a lot of people were expecting Quintero to win that. So you coming out with the victory was quite the shock. Especially the crowd said it all. The shock was there. What did that moment mean to you winning the Metro Division Championship against Quintero? I think what, March 21st?
Well, I'll say this. Maybe the average wrestling fan was a little shocked by that. But if you were following the flow, if you were feeling what was occurring, I mean, I'll say this, all right. I was on a couple match losing streak at the time. All right. I was pretty frustrated. Okay. That's the reason why I went after Rhino, which led to Mr. Quintero wanting to be a hero. He lost because he owed too much to the fans. They were booing me. They were so upset that I was taking out my frustrations on Rhino. And then he came out and wanted to be a hero. And pride, where does pride come before?
The fall.
Oh, right there.
You mentioned Rhino. How did you feel when that match was announced? Was you excited to be facing an ECW legend like Rhino?
I was flattered. That was such a compliment. That was a great handshake. Hearing that announced, it really felt it was a compliment I felt, but also a challenge. Yeah, I was being asked to step up a little bit, work a little bit later on the show than I normally was, and I don't know. I felt like I answered decent enough.
Do you think you met said expectation?
I would like to think so. It was special right up until the very moment that all of Rhino's weight went through my midsection. It felt really special, and I was honored. And it was just so crazy hearing the energy from the fans and how much into it they were. And then the entirety of that massive 1 out of 1 physique man too. Like he's just got such a powerful whole thing on him. Just nothing on that man is soft. All right,
No.
full force. So I mean, yeah, it felt special for sure. I was honored. I was complimented. I was very appreciative. But yeah, it felt something else too.
You know, After the match, you mentioned the attack. What about the loss to Rhino sparked the interest to say, hey, you know what? I didn't get the victory, but I'm gonna get the upper hand post match.
What causes any great moment? I mean, I'll say this. Part of it was raw emotion. I was frustrated. All right. There was a lot of losses piling up. There was some perceived disrespect from the fans. I didn't think those people were taking me seriously, honestly. And I can understand why they might not have been, but I was a little ticked too, for certain. And great moments, sometimes they just happen.
What can we expect from you going forward? Your next defense is against Dante Kasanova, um, somebody that is traveled. He is like the Midwest heavyweight champion in NWA Exodus, things like that. He's got his list of accomplishments himself. Quite the challenger for your first challenge. How are you gonna match the speed and high flying abilities of somebody like Dante Casanova.
I mean, it would be pretty tragic if I lost right away. Like that would be tough, right? I would be personally pretty embarrassed. Uh, I'd probably shut off Instagram for at least a week if that happened. I wouldn't be able to bear the sight. Uh, but I mean, Mr. Casanova, I'll give it to him. The experience edge, maybe the agility edge, but truth be told, he's coming into a Chicago style wrestling ring for the first time. And you, as being someone who's been there, you understand that there's something different in the air,
Yes,
correct?
definitely.
Ooh, it's a whole different environment. And I don't I don't need to do cooler things in the ring than Mr. Casanova. I've seen his work and he is quite the athlete. I don't need to look better than him. I don't need to wear better gear. The only thing I have to do is lock in a single leg Boston Crab. And I mean, you've seen the results.
You got your championship gold multiple times, actually, not just once. It's happened several times. That
A
hold is
couple.
something that has brought you success. Um, in that, what sparked the interest to get something so classic and make that your whole persona?
Well, some would attribute it to a lack of personal range or maybe just kind of my bland style. However, and to be fair, it's a pretty simple maneuver. I don't know why more people don't do it. Truthfully, I think I think everyone should be having crabs. Okay, that's my opinion. At least give it a shot. Okay, but what really kind of turned it on my head is I had watched so much pro wrestling and I had seen people kick out of the craziest things, right? I've seen I've seen people getting out of at one after being dropped on their head by a Bosanoku driver. Mr. Quintero actually kicked out at one after taking the Bosanoku driver from Steve Boz. Okay. Think about that. First of all, just that in itself is crazy. So I figured, hey, you just can't chance it. You can pin their shoulders to the mat as hard as you can, but truth is, they'll probably find a way to kick out.
Eventually,
But
yeah.
when your lower back is cramping up, when you think you're not going to be able to walk straight for a couple weeks, you kind of you start making some business decisions, and sometimes you wind up tapping. So yeah, and when that kind of occurred in my mind, I was like, oh, this is the best thing ever. I'm going to obsess over it.
It's worked. It's been successful. Uh, Something that I've always found really interesting about you and your style is the basicness of it. Because a lot of guys nowadays is very, what can I do next, maneuver driven, and you really break somebody down. And I think like going back to the Quintero match, that was something that was really interesting because the clash of styles is very interesting. We have somebody like Quintero who can fly around and do whatever, but you breaking him down at the base just makes so much sense psychology wise. Is that ever something that you think of like, hey, as far as like my style might be very basic, but it clashes really well with everybody else's style. Is that something else you've ever thought of?
Well, I've thought of it that way. And let me be clear, the reason why I don't do a lot of the moves is because I can't do them. All right. The guys who can pull this stuff off, hats off. Hats off to you
Yes.
fellas. Congratulations. You've achieved it. I wish I were you, truthfully. But every time I step foot into a wrestling ring, I think about a couple things. And one of the things I usually think about is getting a burger and a frosty from Wendy's on my way home. And I love that burger, that fucking triple cheeseburger. Throw some bacon on there sometimes. No lettuce, no tomato, no onion, large frosty. I love that so much. And I know that if I snap my wrist, if I bust my ankle, if my MCL disintegrates in there, I'm not going to be getting that with the same luster after it. So I mean, call me a weenie, but I'm pretty safety first. And if I can do the basics and get the people going as well, I'm right there.
And getting the people hyped up and rowdy and pissed off is something you're very good at. Is that something that comes natural to you, or is it something that you really had to work towards?
I mean, I really think I'm such a nice guy, truthfully. Like, I mean, I mean, sure, there's plenty of people I probably don't get along with, but I think I'm a pretty amiable person. Uh, but when I hop in there, I think the people who react negatively, it's a mixture of jealousy and fear. All right.
Okay.
Everyone fears what they don't understand. A lot of people might not understand why I'm giving everyone crabs. If they don't get it, I can understand their negative reaction. On the other side, the product you see is something that some people would probably like to have. So I get the jealousy aspect as well, which, also brings out negative emotions.
Usually on the channel, I try to start at the beginning of like our wrestling career or fandom, because I mean, at the heart of this, we are all wrestling fans, and I'm sure you are as well. When did you find professional wrestling, and maybe what made you fall in love with it?
So it was seventh grade, a lot later than most, right?
The pivotal moment in a young man's life.
This was pivotal, man. Let me tell you, cable TV, that was pivotal, brother. Uh, so I was flipping through the channels, and this is when SmackDown was on the Sci-Fi Channel. Uh, and so, the Sci-Fi Channel, one that I flipped past pretty frequently, but didn't stay for too long usually. And I saw this huge fella who I later learned to be Mark Henry beating the ever living shit out of a man who I came to love, who was Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, as you might know him nowadays. And you just it kind of froze. And I thought, like, oh my gosh, this guy is beating the hell out of him. And like these guys are not in the same weight class. There's no way this is fair. Uh, but then after the next commercial break, I think Mr. Bryan kind of started firing up on Mark Henry and started getting his comeback in the match, and that's when kind of flipped in my mind, and I was like, "Oh, I know what this is." But I was hooked right from that moment, just because kind of what I was watching. I was like, "Man, like this." I was convinced. I was bought in completely for like a total of 3 minutes, and I've been a fan ever since.
Who were some of your favorites to watch?
Uh, I'd say if you want to split them up, kind of talking about like an all-time favorite one that I never watched live, Stone Cold, of course. Uh, need I say anymore? Uh, the toughest, just had the coolest nicknames, the best aesthetic ever to him. Uh, but in terms of who I watched, who I've really enjoyed the most, it would definitely be Daniel Bryan. Uh, Specifically the whole story leading up to him winning the title at Mania 30. Uh,
That's brilliant.
for, for me, that's the best pro wrestling I've ever seen, ever. Just in terms of getting me to watch from week to week. I could not wait for Monday nights. I was so hooked.
Growing up, did you think after, watching Daniel Bryan and Mark Henry, did you know at that moment, hey, this is what I want to pursue? Or was there ever other things that you thought about going into like career wise first?
To tell you the truth, for the longest time, I had no interest in becoming a professional wrestler because I had seen it on the TV. And then when I started to become a fan of the independent scene, I'd seen it up close. And I thought, oh, like that hurts. Like everything these guys are doing looks incredibly painful. Truthfully, I didn't want any part of that. I uh, I was not for it, but I had just graduated college. I was working at Penske Truck Leasing, a company that I was later fired from. Uh, no hard feelings though, friends at Penske. I'll never rent a U-Haul ever in my life. I tell you that. And if you know what's best for you, you'll never rent a U-Haul either. Okay. I like to take this time real quick to just, if you're renting a U-Haul, that's closer to a coffin than a moving truck. Okay. Just want to make
Okay.
that clear. But yeah, I was working at Penske, and I think I just got yelled at by someone over the phone. Over like, their truck was like a little dirty, or like we gave it to them with 3/4 full fuel, crap like that. And I thought to myself, there's got to be something more than doing this for the rest of my life. And so I Googled uh, Googled wrestling schools near me. And that's when the CSW Academy popped up. I sent an email, and the next night I was on a phone call with the man who I forced to submit for the first time in 15 years. 15 years. The superstar, Steve Boz.
So that moment, is that what you'd say just really made you decide, hey, I'm gonna start training to become a professional wrestler? Or was there anything else maybe after that that really sparked that interest?
Uh, I mean, yeah, I'd always loved it. I'd always loved, kind of getting in front of a group of people and, goofing off too. Uh, like I crush at small parties. All right. I crush. Uh, but I mean, it was just kind of, there was this confluence of factors where it was physical. I always liked sports, even though I was awful at sports. Very bad, very bad. Not a natural athlete. I like kind of the physicality aspect. I was kind of searching for something to do, but it was really that I just felt like I wanted to be doing something more than just picking up the cell phone for the rest of my life.
Definitely. Definitely. I can relate. Um, what was your first interaction outside of being on the cell phone or telephone with Steve Boz and maybe even, Jason Hades?
I mean, I think the first time I ever met Steve Boz, he had I was actually recovering at the time from my MCL tearing when I fell off the back of a moving truck uh, during my time at 2 Men in a Truck, another company that I would love to plug. Best movers, those guys will actually take care of your stuff and probably won't steal it.
Okay.
Anywho, yeah, so I was recovering. I was recovering from the knee injury, and Boz is like, "Hey, I know you can't start training right away, but at least come in and watch a practice." And so I drove there after work, and I parked my truck, and I walked into the back door of the smelliest place I have ever been in. In an interesting note, for how much that place stank the first couple times I went there, I've gone completely nose blind to it, which is horrifying. Because I'm thinking like every time I see like someone new walk in there, I'm like, oh my god, they must be suffocating right now. I feel bad for them, truthfully. Uh, but I think the first time I met Jason Hades, uh, he was well, I should stop with Boz. I walk in, Boz just kind of turns around, looks at me like while I'm still coughing. Uh, it's like, hey, what's your name? Like, I'm Hans. A couple people gave me like the AA, like hi Hans, like that. All right, got some humor in the room, and then I just kind of watch practice, and I mean, you've talked to Boz, right?
Not on here, but I have talked to him in person a couple times. Yes,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you talk to him once, you get the full experience. He's always the BOZ, you
it's a
know.
nut I want to crack for sure. That's somebody I want to get on here and see what is going on because I've heard that he's one of those people that lives the gimmick, like that he's BOZ all day.
To say that he lives the gimmick, I it's
Is
it's
that an
more that the
understatement?
gimmick is him.
Okay, okay.
It's
You piqued
it's
my interest even more.
but yeah, and so I was like, oh man, like this is pro wrestling. Like this is a jacked up dude in the sweaty gym yelling at these people to bump. Like I'm in it now. Uh, then I think the first time I met Hades was probably the first time I think the first time I went to a practice to start training. He was running things at the time, and yeah, that was cool to meet him. I had no clue of kind of what his station was at the time. I didn't know he was a man of such influence and power. I just thought he was a cool guy who was, being especially nice and trying to help a kid out who was trying something new out.
Was at that time was Axel Rico also helping with training, or was that before then?
Yeah, yeah. Mr. Rico was helping then too. Yeah. It was kind of I'd say I came in right kind of at the end of Hades doing regularly working with the training class. Because
Okay,
I think it was something with his job that got switched up pretty soon after that.
I see. What's it like training with Axel? I know he does more of like I think he's described as like a lucha libre kind of style of training. What's that like?
It's when you get in there with Axel, you're gonna be a little sweaty pretty quick on in the class for
Yeah,
sure. Which I appreciate. The cardiovascular aspect to professional wrestling is not just in the moves. Uh, the most important bit of cardio is when you've been wrestling for about 10-12 minutes. You're you're standing there in the middle of the ring and you want to talk your shit to the crowd still, but you're doing I mean, it's happened to me a couple of times, and it's embarrassing. I hate not being able to give 100% every moment that I'm out there in the ring because, as we all know, it's incredibly finite. You never get those minutes back either. So that's what I appreciate about training with Mr. Rico. Is the intensity. All right, there's not a lot of, and not to say this isn't needed sometimes, there's not a lot of standing around and talking about the finer points of the sport. He likes to get in there and do stuff. And I appreciate that a lot about training with him.
how long did you train before you actually participated in like a match and had a debut?
I think it was about 6 months before the Mr. Rico himself asked me to do a Galli Lucha Libre show.
Okay,
Uh, yeah, crazy we
is
were
it
talking about him.
Is that how you got into Galli? Was Axel then?
Yeah, yeah. Carlos needed some guys. Axel, he Carlos texted Axel. Axel texted me. I texted one of my buddies who lived right by the show. It was Taco Fest, the Lakeview Taco Fest show. And I texted her like, "Hey, dude, I'm gonna be wrestling." And I don't even think I had told this dude I was training to be a wrestler. So that was a pretty funny moment there.
What's it been like for you to work with Galli Lucha, and like how does that company differ from maybe working at other promotions?
Well, demographically, it's a little more on the south of the border side for
Okay.
sure. Uh, you hear a bit more Spanish than English, which is confusing for someone like me whose Spanish is a little closer to high school level than actual real world level. Uh, and the style of wrestling, which comes from Mexico, what these people want to see is a lot different from what I grew up watching and what I always enjoyed as a fan. The first couple of times I saw Lucha Libre, I was just confused, dude. I did not know what was going on. There were these loud noisemakers uh, rattling all around. So many air horns. People were cutting promos, and I didn't know who was the heel, who was the face. I didn't know what was going on. Uh, but I've kind of picked it up a little bit, man. I kind of can feel my way around now. I know what's going on.
You know, something that I'm very interested in is how did you become a part of Alpha Zeta Zeta, and maybe what are your ties to Miami, Ohio?
So truthfully, it's on the internet, so I guess this will get out somehow. I did not actually join a fraternity referred to as Alpha Zeta Zeta at the University of Ohio. Uh, I just want to clear this up officially, make a statement. There has been some controversy surrounding this. I did not attend the university. There is no such fraternity known as Alpha Zeta Zeta, to the best of my knowledge. Uh, but there was a hell of a wrestling trio and tag team known as Alpha Zeta Zeta. Me, Mr. Charlie Kleinman, and Gonzo, uh, Michael Gonzalez, as you could know him. Uh, that came together originally as a tag team under the influence of Steve Boz, because on this first day that I walked into practice, I was looking at everyone, and I saw a dude who looked almost exactly like me. That turned out to be Charlie, but it was a jarring moment because I'm like, this dude looks exactly like me, like almost the same. And Boz saw that, and he said, yeah, he made a Hans and Franz joke. You're familiar with the SNL skit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Hans and Franz joke, and I mean, I gave him the polite laughter, but I did not think that shit was funny because I've heard that so many times in my life. But he just kind of stuck us together, and we were a team from then on. And then when Gonzo started training, we asked him, "Hey, do you want to join our team?" And he said, "Yeah," and that's how we came about.
Okay. Do you think that we could see you guys back together again?
For the right price, of course.
Okay. The price
Uh,
has to be right.
no, no. I mean, it's just kind of in terms of Charlie's scheduling and my scheduling, and Gonzo, he's getting back into it right now. Uh, Now's not the perfect time, but the perfect time could happen anytime now. I'll
Okay.
say that.
I like that. We've talked about you winning gold in CSW, but how did you win to be able to win some gold inside Galley?
Oh, oh, the reaction. Oh, they were so upset. Oh my gosh, they were so upset. Here's what made it all the better. I was promised a one-on-one championship match with the Discovery champion at the time, Mr. John Crowley. Unfortunately, Mr. Crowley was unable to compete due to an existing knee injury. Uh, and so for me, that I just thought, okay, perfect. I'll come to the show. They'll give me the championship belt. Maybe they'll give me the microphone for a minute or two. Uh, but no such luck. I was inserted into a scramble match with none other than Galli legend Bandolero, Torero, Young Buck, Furia Nocturna, uh, and Arrow Boy. I mean, it naturally came out on top, but because Mr. Crowley was unable to compete, he actually sat ringside with the championship belt, and he had to walk into the ring and give it to me after I won. Chills. The boos, the insults, the swear words in Spanish raining down upon me. And just seeing the look on Mr. Crowley's face, I was tickled.
There's a picture up on your Instagram of you holding the championship next to Eric Schultz and Axel Rico, both been guests here on the podcast. Um, what was it like being able to share that moment with, for one, Axel, who you've trained with, and then Eric Schultz, somebody I'm sure you were very familiar with? What was that like?
Yeah, those are two of my favorite guys to see at a wrestling show. Axel
100%.
and Eric, when I walk up to them, I know that they're there to make the best wrestling they can that night. I know those are guys who, just like me, they love getting out there. They love giving it 100%. They love doing their thing. They do two pretty different things, but I think equally as successfully, if you ask me. And when we're all three in there together, when you get when you get us in dinero habla juntos, as you might even say, it is something special to feel because you just got three dudes who are on rhythm, same book.
Definitely, definitely. Um, ano- Another thing I try to ask on here, just out of fun, I guess, there's always everybody has a dream opponent. If you could wrestle anybody in that ring, who would you want to lock that single leg grab on?
I mean, it kind of already happened when I wrestled the superstar Steve Boz at CSW Summer Heat in the year of our Lord 2024. I mean, that was in itself a dream. But I mean, if I did have to pick one who's alive today, who's still kicking, I mean, I'd say Daniel Bryan. Yeah,
Okay,
just
one on
out of pure,
one.
I mean, just being a fan. Like I said, he's the person who made wrestling like the realist for me. Like I said, I was bought in. I was 100% bought in for 3 minutes watching him, just get the shit kicked out of him. No mercy. Uh, and the in the lead up to WrestleMania 30, I've never cared more about a television show, and that was on him. So I'd say Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson just out of being a fan.
How did you feel about his last year within AEW? The winning the Owen, the title run, uh, the moment it all in when he wins the championship, all the way down to him losing to Moxley. Like, how was you viewing that as a fan?
Uh, I'm viewing every moment of Mr. Bryan's career, Mr. Danielson's career as bonus time because I was fully convinced that he would never wrestle again for the longest time after he came down, after all the injuries and the concussions, forced him to kind of retire out of the WWE. I just thought, I was like, man, like this guy was so cool. And maybe you can only have something that's so cool because it exists for such a short period of time. But now every time, I get to watch a video of him in there, I'm like, all right, this is something I never thought I'd get to see. So then, him going to such a high level with AEW, winning the championship, that's, just even more special because I thought I would just be watching old videos of him for the rest of my time.
That's great. I I really like stories like that though. The ones when you think it's over and then realistically it's just that half is over. And then he go
Mm-hmm.
on to have he go back and have a hell of a run in WWE and then decide, hey, I've probably done about all I can do here. Let me go over here and change this game as well. And I'm pretty certain he's done a pretty good job at that on the AEW side of things. And definitely somebody right now I'd say we're missing on AEW TV. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think it's left its mark that he's not on there?
I mean, I don't. I'm not a good judge of the product. I'm a little too biased. I'll
Fair
be
enough.
honest. Whenever I'm watching on the TV, maybe it's just because he's someone I like so much that I'm like, he's gone. I'm a little less interested in this now. So
I can agree. I'm a big CM Punk fan. So like when he left AEW, kind of took me away. And then I'm a huge Kenny Omega fan. So like when he got hurt, took me away. And then honestly, it seemed like Bryan was one of the things that was like, okay, we can keep this interesting. And he's gone. So like it seemed like I don't know, not to put anything against AEW because I love the product and I just love wrestling in general. So I'd watch a garbage bag fight broomstick and I'd probably like it. But like so I don't know. It just seems like something's missing, and it's probably because those guys are missing. Like Kenny's back, but things are just not the same, and I don't know how to explain it if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying. Uh, I mean, to that effect, though, what better time for the next dude to really step up? All
Yes,
right. When kind of, some of the more established longer term stars, they're on the shelf or, they're somewhere else. This is the time where, you know, someone's either going to make it happen or not. Someone's either going to plant themselves down and say, I can be the face of this company. I can be the draw, or no one will. So I mean, that's pretty exciting in itself. That's something to keep watching for.
definitely. With that said, um, something similar with yourself is happening at CSW. If you think about it, there's a lot of slots that have been opened and yourself took full advantage of those slots being opened and you took your shot and now you're champion. Is that something that has been felt in the locker room? Like, hey, these guys are, like Maggie just got signed. That's a big spot that I know she's coming back, but who knows how many times she'll be coming back. Uh, Lycan lost the championship. He's been gone for a couple months. I know he's making his return this month, but that spot needed filled. Um, Missa Kate, she lost championship. She's been gone a month or two now. Slot needs filled. These are big slots. Is that something where it's like, okay, now these guys who've been established here are out or are going to be gone for a month or two. Let me step up and see where I can make my mark.
I can tell you that that's something that I think makes CSW so exciting. Uh, there's a level of energy there where everyone knows that. Hey, I'll say that there's a level of energy that's enabled by I think everyone knowing in that locker room that we're here to put on the best possible show. And if you can help us put on the best possible show, let me tell you, we got a spot for you. All right. That's what I love. That's the feeling that I love. So, I mean, that's, people know that, which enables it's like, hey, we're gonna all bring our A game. We know that this is kind of the attitude here. This is gonna be good.
Definitely.
So, when everyone's got that attitude, and of course the absence of kind of trying to work against each other, all trying to work with each other, and you got that fire, it creates something pretty special. It creates a what I might describe as a can't miss show.
100%. And as a fan of CSW, of the product, I've come to realize that every show is can't miss. Especially like you never know what's going to happen. And whether I think something I was talking recently, I had both Steve Arendt and Jason Hades on the podcast, and we both were talking about the resiliency of CSW. Like just when somebody gets hurt, or somebody can't make a show, and you think, okay, these big matches aren't going to happen, they swoop in with the like craziest swerve of all time and make it 10 times better. And I think that's the magic of CSW. Like you just never know what you can expect. And like personally speaking, and not to I don't want to undermine what other indies in this area do because they're all excellent, but CSW I feel is at the top of its game for that reason. Its ability to adapt. Um something else I try to ask on the channel just out of fun. We've covered several moments and matches and items of your career. What is your favorite? Like, what sticks out right now so far of your career? That's like, okay, that's been the pinnacle so far.
Mm, the best so far. Oh man,
Putting you on the spot.
that's that's tough. I mean, I'll say this: the attitude I like to go into every show with, because I say, all right, I've got a chance to do the best wrestling I've ever done tonight. All right, there's a chance. Maybe it won't be, but at least I have the opportunity. As long as they read my name, all right, as long as they put me out there in the ring, I've got a shot to do it. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, CSW Metra Division Championship, beating Mr. Quintero, someone who I've been pretty familiar with. That's pretty big. Trust me, that's very exciting. Being having that kind of level of trust that's entailed with a championship like that. That's that's pretty nice. Uh, but I really just don't think about that type of stuff. At least I try not to think about that type of stuff too much because I feel like that lets me go into the next match saying, all right, whatever happened the last one, I was still going to try and do my best this one.
I like that. I like that. Uh, last question I got for you. Um, what would you say are some of your goals for the rest of this year?
The rest of this year, yeah, I want to be able to do a Hurricane Rana.
Okay.
I want to do one Hurricane Rana. Uh, I will do this is another thing. All right. We were talking about the moves earlier. All the flipping and the flying, dude, I am seriously scared of heights. All right. If I look at a picture of a tall building, my hands start getting sweaty. I can't, I cannot stand heights. But 2 years ago, I did one dive. And then last year, I did one dive during that year. And the first time I did it, I think there was about 40 people in the building total. The second time I did it, I don't know, maybe 150, 200 people in the building. Don't quote me exactly. This year, I'm going to hit the cleanest tope con hilo I can in front of more people than I ever have.
Okay. I like that. April or no, May, CSW is going back to Elmwood Park. That would be
There
that
would
could
be a
be
lot of people.
that could be where we see a Tope Conhilo.
It could be, man, but it's got to be right. Everything's got to align. And who knows? Maybe I won't be able to hit it because I don't practice that. I'm too scared. I'm not. It's
It's one of
just
those
so.
like heat of the moment. You're gonna have to go out there and do it.
I mean, it's something I think about each time I've done it. I've thought about it for about a month in advance. I've been planning and thinking and hyping myself up. So
Well,
we'll see what happens this year, man.
let's start the hype now. Maybe we can get, I'm sure the crowd would pop for a Tope con Hilo from the new Metro Division champion.
That
Or
could
they'd
that
be
could
pretty
elicit a
pissed off.
reaction.
They might be pretty pissed off seeing you fly.
Who knows? Maybe I wouldn't, just to not even give those folks the satisfaction.
Okay. I like that. I like that. I like that a lot. Hans, I just want to say this was a pleasure. I absolutely love having you on. Um, before I let you go, is there any social medias that you'd like to plug or things like that? Just let the fans know where they can keep up to date with what you're doing.
Yes, Instagram at We Talking About Lifts. You can just search my name though, Hans Carden, and then Twitter at the Chief Tweets. You can just Hans Carden. There's really kind of a dearth of Hans Cardens on the internet. I'm not too difficult to find if you search.
Okay. Okay. Um, with that said, man, I'm gonna leave an open invitation. If you ever want to come back on, shoot the shit about some pro wrestling, the door is wide open. I'd love to have you.
Dad, I had a blast. I would love to hop on sometime soon, man.
Sounds good. You know what? With that said, I'll just leave this and see you later then.
Yes, sir. You have a good one, dude.
You too.